We touch, we break, make it seem like we feel the same. We love what we hate. We lie, but we know we can't wonder.
Hey everybody, it is Wood here. Let me tell you a quick story. The other day I went to order me some Chinese food. When I got there, the line was out the door. At least 101 people in line. So I waited for about an hour and a half. Now I could have went somewhere else, but by this point it was principal. And it was at least 125 degrees outside. All this, no shade, no air conditioning, and I was starving. I'm pretty certain that I almost died. Yeah, it happened just like that. Welcome to Mental Policing.
At least it was worth a try. I drive from your place, miss your lips, but I hate the taste. No fun in this game. I will call our bluff, 'cause using bodies isn't good enough. Slow down, this ain't love.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mental Policing. This is Wood, as I said, and I'm going to get to my story in just a minute, but we've all been there, right? We all do this. We slightly exaggerate the truth and what we've been through or what we have seen. We do this sometimes to make that story a little bit more exciting or to play off someone's emotions to help them better understand what we were going through. But it's not reality. It isn't real, and it's not exactly what happened. So to explain my story a little bit better, I actually ordered takeout, went over there to pick it up. There was only about 2 people ahead of me, and they were just paying for their food. Yes, it was 95 degrees outside, but the only time I had to be in is when I went from my air-conditioned car to the door of the restaurant. I was in and out about, 10 minutes tops. But you see, that story isn't as exciting as the first one. This isn't always a bad thing, but oftentimes it is. For example, kids talk up how bad a shot hurts. So the next kid in line expects it to be miserable and frightening, and almost like they're getting their arm ripped off. They might have some major anxieties about it. Then they go in, they get their shot, and it was no big deal. It was fine. Or they fight with mom and dad, all for nothing. And having a lot of kids and dealing with this, trust me when I tell you, I know how a perceived experience can affect the outcome. Match the reality. So how does this apply to policing? Well, since you asked, I'm going to tell you. Way too often our perceptions mold and direct our actions. Since house buying is a hot topic right now, I'm going to use this as an example. Have you tried buying a house as a police officer versus being just regular Joe, like maybe before you were in the job? Was it any harder? Was it easier? I'm going to tell you from my experience, it was a little bit harder, and here's why. So you go out and you look for a house, right? The minute you pull into a neighborhood, everybody's a pedophile. Every guy out there on his lawn is a pedophile. And they're on the registry. They have to be. All the bad neighbors are around. They get called on all the time for this and for that, for the party houses. They're way too close. The dogs are barking all the time. There's overly religious and nosy neighbors. The cop haters are there, and the list goes on and on and on. So you check around, you're looking all over. Finally, you land on something that you can just deal with. You might not be happy about it, but you do it anyway, because you got to live somewhere. So you move in, you settle down, and you realize, I'm actually in a pretty good spot. People around you care just as much or just as little as you do. The party house turns out to just be a regular old family that has a lot of kids, and they like celebrating birthday parties. The dog barks all the time, but only because the religious people are walking around. And they're only walking around because they get lost half the time. They're not really any pedophiles, just guys that like to have a nice clean lawn. And they like to admire it. So now you see a little bit about what I'm talking about. But how does this actually apply to our work? Well, we all take our biases and our experiences to work with us, but this should not shape how we work. If I've had a bad experience with someone named Tom, this doesn't mean that all Toms are bad. It just means that that one was. Just because I've had an experience with a redhead that's a racist doesn't mean all redheads are racist. Not all Latinos are Mexican, and not all Mexicans speak Spanish. And just because one Starbucks employee makes a video pretending to poison a police officer doesn't make all employees bad. That means that one should be fired. So here's something to think about. I'm going to give you a title, and then I want you to think of the person associated with that title. Here we go. Thug. Pedophile. Scoutmaster. School shooter. Nanny. Flight attendant. Athlete. Runner. Skier. A principal. 6 foot 300 pounds. 5'3", 250 pounds. Who did you associate to each title? I'd be willing to bet that the person next to you probably had a similar answer. But if we take a step back and we analyze that, and we look at the data, are we right? Probably not. We draw from our own experiences and the things we hear around us, and we attach the meanings. Too often we get caught up in an experience we've had outside of law enforcement, and we label the entire demographic. Yet, we cry foul the very first time someone lumps us in with a bad cop. We are human, we say. Some guys make mistakes. He had a bad day. Hold accountable the one that did the bad thing, because the rest of us are good. I mean, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right to feel this way. But remember that every person you talk to is also human. They make mistakes. They've had a bad day. And we should only hold a person accountable for their actions. We would all want it that way. We should learn from our experiences and let them be a guide on how to stay safe and healthy. But we must, and we owe it to ourselves, to treat each person and experience as an individual, because no two are the same. So instead of crying foul and rallying the troops to ban all of a certain thing, why not ban that person, the idea, or a small section of that problem? Are we ourselves being too judgmental? Should we be allowed to get away with it and then turn around and cry that it's not fair to us? We work with each other, and we know that all cops are not racist. All cops don't hate everyone, and all cops aren't overweight and out of shape. Yet many would lump us into one of these groups. We get angry, it makes us bitter, and it makes us mad. Sure, get mad, be upset, defend yourself. But be better. Be better. Rise above and just be better. Make your next interaction with someone the way you want them to see police as a whole. Use kindness and compassion when it's called for, and be human. I know those are some words that are very gross in the law enforcement world, but do that. Now, I've quoted this person many, many times in my life, and I'm going to do it again because I think it's applicable. You got to make a change. It's time for us as a people to start making some changes. Let's change the way we eat, let's change the way we live, and let's change the way we treat each other. You see, the old way wasn't working, so it's on us to do what we got to do to survive. That's Tupac, and he's not wrong. So I'll end with this thought, in my own opinion, and that is, just because you are part of a cause you feel it's righteous doesn't mean everyone does. And when we don't allow people to think differently than we do, we can be part of the problem. If you are arguing that this group or that group is the correct group, maybe it isn't the group that's the problem. Maybe, just maybe, we've created the division that is the problem. So start seeing people more as people and less as a herd. So this is Wood. Take care of yourself. Love one another, and I'll see you on the next one.
We touch, we break, make it seem like we feel the same. We love what we hate. We lie, but we know it was worth the try.